Hello, viewers. This is a part 2 of the CBT tutorial that we've just started. The first tutorial, I tried to explain what we are going to be learning. This is a CBT app created by Laravel. So we are going to be going through some of the model, migration, and controller created. So now I have the list of controller that has been created. We have the user's controller, which is this, the username. If you're familiar with Laravel, so you understand that this is a model for user. So you can also create it as users. We have the name, we have email, mail verified, and password. This comes with Laravel by default. Then we have the reset, which also comes with Laravel. JFL job. Now we have the subject. The subject talks about subject that will be listed, which the CBT will be attached to. So we are going to be looking at, how we can relate our subject to the questions, to the options and the answers table. So every subject has questions and every question has options, and option contains the answer submitted by the user. So we're going to be seeing how this is related. So we have the subject table, which is this. We have the course code, so then the title. So this is just the migration created, which would also eventually be migrated to our database. So for every question there is, for every subject there are questions attached to the subject. So you can see that we have the value. Value means the question value in terms of text. So then we have the subject ID, we have the ID, we have the subject, then we have the subject ID that is referencing subject. That is, every question belongs to a subject. So we can have subject having many many questions. So this is a kind of relations that we're going to be using to build our model. We're going to create a function that will make this easy for us to fetch. Also, we have options. The option migration contains the value. I want to know if the option is the correct option, the question ID, then the foreign ID. I'm going to show us, once I migrate this, I'm going to see how it works in the database. Our answer shows the table which, when a user attempted the question and it picks the correct answer, what it seems to be correct to the user, a table stores that, which stores the ID of the person that submitted, the option that the person submitted, and the user's ID. Since we know that an option can either be correct or not correct, so this can be, if we use this, we can use this to check from the options table if it is correct or not correct. Then we can use the options table to know the question it belongs to and the subject. So that's our migration. So it's been written. So all we have to do now is to migrate to the database and see if they are on here. So we have our blank PHP CBT tutorial. So you can see that it's empty. So I'm going to migrate this. See, PHP artisan. So we have started our artisan. Now I want to migrate. I can as well migrate here. I prefer new terminal. In the new terminal, I can write my PHP artisan migrate. So PHP artisan migrate. Once we migrate to C, the table are created. You can see shows that our relationships are correct and the whole table has been created. You can see from here the users table was created, followed by password, failed job, subject table, question, option, and answers. So let's check our database and see the visualized description of this. So we can see the database. So if we check the users, so we have the users that exist in the database. That will be the table, and we also have the options and the questions. So we have option. So this is the let's check the questions table. We have the questions table. Now this is the questions table. We have the value. We have the subject ID. So the value, that is the question. The subject ID, which is related to the subject table. Then we also have the option, which has a relationship with the question. So the question ID is stored here. And also we have the answers table, which has a relationship. Now, take a look at the options table. In the options table, we have the value, and we want to know if it is correct, which takes a Boolean value. If it is correct, it's going to be true. And if it is not correct, it's going to be false. So all this table has been set, and our answers table is this. It contains the options ID, the user ID. So these are the things that we need to know in our relationship. So now let's go to our code and quickly see what has been created and the relationship that exists. Now, in our relationship, we have model, and in our model, let's go to the subjects. So these are subjects. It's just a model subject. A subject has many questions. So we can create public function. So public function, the public function we can then say as we can add questions. We are trying to embed question inside our subject. So we're going to return this. We're going to have this. So we're going to return this. So we are going to be having a return type of a class. Let me quickly check here. We want to know if as many and we have to pass the class. We have passing the class. Let me just copy this class name. So it has many questions. So we have, I want to be sure of this question class. So subject has many questions. So this will automatically link our tables together. And we know that the question is related to, we know that the subject has many questions. So this has linked this function. Anytime we call it, we can access all the questions that belongs to, any question that belongs to this subject. So that's it. Also, we have in our questions table, we know that one question belongs to a single subject. So we have question. So we have a question belongs to subject. So a single question can only belongs to a subject. So that has been established. And also we have this function that says question has many options. So a question can have many options, and the question belongs to a subject. So this relationship exists for all. So, and also this is our fillables. We're trying to guard this while that field in the table can be filled. I hope we understand this. This is just to, instead of using something like this, instead of using something like this, instead of using a fillable, let's say this is not there. Let's say we have something like fillables. So we can have something like this, then list all the fillables that we wanted. So, but instead of that, I just want to protect this. I don't want this only to be filled because it's auto-incremented, it's auto-generated. So now, since this exists, let's terminate this. So then we have our options also. We've talked about the subjects. We've talked about the questions. And let's go to the options. Now, our option belongs to a question. So a single option can only belong to a question. And also an option has one answer. There's just one answer in the option. So this has related our work. It has one answer. That's one option. There's a group of options can only have one answer, a correct answer. So can only have one answer. And also we have our answers table. An answer has a relationship with option. So an answer belongs to an option. That's what we are seeing in these options. And also an answer belongs to a subject. So with this, we should be able to get our relationship, be able to fetch what necessary data. This can also be removed since we might not necessarily have this object because we already know that an option belongs to a subject. So this might be a redundant function. So we can always do with it if we know how to do it, but if we relate it, still okay. For now, let's deal with this and let's just comment it out and move on to the next stage. So I want to quickly import question here. We have question. Let me save this. I want my IntelliSense to be working, so I want to change the ID. I prefer using PHP Storm. It gives me a high level of flexibility. So now, while I wait for this, I always come here because this is flagging an error. Why? Because of the question class that is not readily available. So I always come in and call the use. I can come here. I'll come here. I don't want to be typing this all every time. HTTP /model. So we are coming here. Sorry, should be models, yes. Then model, then questions. So this we cancel here. So we have this and the error is gone. So let's check others. Yeah. So this can be done away with. So we have this also. Yeah, no quick fix for this. All right, so let's quickly go back to application and see how it's running. So we want to quickly check our application and see if it will run or not. So we also have, okay, this is, for me, for PHP, I prefer PHP Storm. So now for this, we are going to be having okay, welcome back. This is a model. I try to switch to PHP Storm. It's quite easy and faster with the tutorial. Now, my application is up and running. I can create question. Let's see how question can be created. And let's see how we can add question. Oh, sorry, I've closed PHP. So you have to start your server so that the application can run. So that's what exactly went wrong there. So now if I click on create question, so I have a form that has been created. So let's quickly check that in our route and blade. Now our route says anytime anybody is looking for the first thing, you should go to the home. That is, immediately I launch my app, the first thing that will be loaded is the home page. Now the home page, let's see what is in the home page. Let's go to our view. This is the home, and inside the home, I have create question, and I have create question, and I have view the question created. So I have this, which is the question. I have the question created. So apart from this that we are going to be using, this is just a way of adding a single question to a page. We're going to see how we can add multiple questions, how we can have multiple options, and how we can upload through the CSV file into our database. So now, for now, we are importing question into the database. I want to add options also. Now, we want to see how this can be done. So anytime I call this, it goes to this route create question. So the route create question, it's actually inside here. We have create. So we have a simple form which stores question. It goes to stores question action. Then we have the label question, and we have the text field and the submit form. So these two submit form to store question, and the store question also goes to the route, the store question, which is here. So it goes to the question. There's a controller question and the store method. Now, if you go to controller store question and the store, so we have this. The question is captured. We create an instance of this question. Then we try and pick the value. From the database, we have a field called value. So the object of this is created, and we pick the value. Then we return the object that we send. The parameter of the input field question is captured from our form and is stored. So then we check if it is saved, and we have this saved, and it returns with this parameter please into question.index. So let's see how that is achieved. So this is the question: what is HTML? So this is a question. So we can submit this. Wow, can you see? Subject ID does not have a default value. Now, that's very interesting because we don't have a subject ID yet, and we should know that subject ID is related to our question. So the first thing that we must do is to add a subject, then we add question to our subject. So I'm going to do that manually, then later I'm going to create it such that once you select a subject, the system automatically picks the subject and use it to store the question. So how do we achieve that? Now let's quickly go to our form. Now we have question. Then we have subject controller. So I'm going to quickly do something. The question controller, we're able to store this. Then let me go to the route and create a route. Inside here, I want to create this group of routes. Instead of having question, we're going to be having subject. So we have this. So we have question. So this will now be subject. So subject. So we have a subject here. We can always copy this and put here, put here, put here, put here. So we expect index, create, store, everything here to also exist in our controller. So we want index, create, store, view. So this shows you view. So we have view question, store question, blah, blah. So now that we have question, we have subject, and the controller here now be subject controller, subject controller, subject controller, subject controller. So instead of having question, I'm going to be having view subject, view subject, create subject, and store subject. So having done that, we have a subject, index, and blah, blah, blah. So we can easily create, duplicate our question. This is our question, create a duplicate of it by copying, and I want to paste. Let's see if we can paste it. Okay, paste. Now, how do I want to paste? I want to paste as subject. Subject. So our subjects here, view. So with this, just as we have question, so subject has create. So how do we create? We create subjects. Subject. We create subject. Subject. So instead of having create questions, now we create subject. View all subjects. So our routes will now go to subject route. Subject. So if you don't have subjects in our database, it might be difficult for us to create a subject. So what we're going to be doing now is we want to see how we can add subjects to our database. So now we want to create subject. And if we go back to our table, database, it covered that subject has course code, title. So we are going to be making sure that the field we are sending, the name, we have course code, or Garcio course code. Then so let's make this just title. And I'm not sure I need so much space. So instead of having text feed for this text area, I'm going to turn it to input. It's an input and the text. So I'm going to be having this, and we don't need to close input like this. So we have this. we have this. We have the subject's title. The next one is code. Then we have, or let's say name. We have the subject's name. Then we have code. So get code. We have subject code. So since we have these two, if I submit this into database, one will go to the code and one will go into the, let's use title as we have it in database. So although we can call it any name, just be sure of what you are doing. So we have input, and inside our input, we have this. So we can easily store our subject now as we stored the question. So I just want to replicate some of the things that we have here and change their name. So in my code, I will go to subject. Where is the subject? This is the subject. So I'm having this question. No, I don't want question. I want to use subject.create. I'm changing this to subject.create. So this is going to be the view subject. So instead of having question here, I'm going to create object for subject. And I know this will have imported it for me. That's why I put his ID. So we have the subject created. We have the subject. All subjects should be fetched, and you should go to subject index. So instead of having quiz, and I have subject. So if you have subjects, come here, you pass subject variable that is created. Now we are good to go. We can now go to the route and see what has happened to our work. One last thing that we are yet to do is to check our model if everything is okay for the subject. Now these are question inside our model is complaining of something. Okay, it has the same name, so that should be an error. The same name exists. Then this one, we need to terminate it. Now, good. We have our subject already. We know that subject has many. Subject has many questions. Yes, we are correct. Subject has many questions. So then we need to create our fillables. So we have our protected. Is that we use the fillables? But I'm not interested in the fillables. I want to use guard just to help my work. The only thing I'm guarding is the ID. So I don't want this to be filled. So I'm guarding that. So then if I'm using fillable, I have to specify what the user should fill. Now, once this is done, you can go back to our page and navigate to subject create. Now look at our subject. We have question shouldn't be. This should be the title and this should be the postcode. So now let's go back to create again. We didn't change the label name. This should be the code, or this should be the title of the subject. So we have this. We have this. So we have this already. So let's go back to our view, refresh. So create subjects, view subject created. We have title. What's the title of the subject I'm creating? Intro to make engineering, and it is E101. So I'm saving this. Let's see if it's going to save. Yes, I now find the column value in the feed list. Okay, or no column values in the feed list. Now, let's go back and see our controller for the subject. Now, for the subject, we said store input. This is question. No. Instead of having question, we have title, and we are storing title inside our, this is course code and title inside title in title. Now, if you duplicate this, we have course underscore code. That's how it's been spelled. COURSC code. Then we have course code in our HTML. So if we save this, I will go back here. I will try and save again. Cannot be null. So it's not seeing this course code. So it shows that the name we call it here is not correct with what we have in the field. So let's see in our view, we call it subject code. So let's use subject code instead. Subject code, not course code. So this is the subject code and the title. Let's go back again and submit. So hopefully it will go now. Quiz. Now it has gone, but in the return page, subject.index, we are using quiz instead of subject. And that's why we're not seeing things like that. So let's quickly get our, this is the subject. So our subjects.index, we have quiz instead of this. So we're going to change the quiz to subject. So this is what is sent back from our, that is sent to us from our controller. So if you save it and you try and reload, the problem with this reloading is that it's going to save the question twice. So we have the 1 and 2 question. So let's see in our database, we have course code and title. So that's what we're going to be populating our index page. So we have course underscore code. Then we have title. I hope this is understood. So if we refresh our page, we're going to have a me 101 and blah blah. Let's give it an appropriate title. So we have code, we have the course title, we have the title. So that's it. If we try and clear this in our database, let's remove these two and delete them. Yes, let's delete them. Then we'll come to create subject. This will now be create subject. Yes, this will now be create subject. So we're going to be having we're going to be having subjects. Now let's save our work, see what we have. Now, I want to add another one. Let's say introduction to computer. Let's say it's CSS 101. I will submit it. I'm trying to create. So introduction to CSS. Introduction to computer CSS 101. So we can keep adding create subjects. We can have principle of computer, and this is going to be let's say CSC 102. So we can have it on and on, the course code and their title. So now if we want to create our options, so our options can now be created by adding the value of our course code. Then once we have our course code, we select our course code, and we can add the questions to them. We can create questions based on the course code that we are adding. In the next, so now we can add questions to our subject. So during the next tutorial, kindly subscribe to this YouTube channel as we progress in our share. Thanks.